Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bombshell that has Indiana Fever fans in a full-blown panic. And what she revealed on her podcast this week isn't just locker room talk. It's a warning shot about the future of the most exciting team in the WNBA. Buckle up, because by the end of this, you're going to understand why some fans are convinced Caitlin Clark might not be suiting up in Indiana much longer. Now on the surface, everything between Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark looks picture perfect. The memes, the social media roasts, the matching sideline energy during the Fever's playoff run. These two built one of the most genuine friendships the WNBA has ever seen. But what Sophie just said on her Show Me Something podcast is peeling back a layer that most people aren't ready for. And it has nothing to do with their friendship. It has everything to do with money, power, and a league that's tearing itself apart from the inside. So let's rewind for a second. Sophie Cunningham arrived in Indiana before the 2025 season after spending 6 years with the Phoenix Mercury. She wasn't some blockbuster trade. She wasn't a #1 pick. She was a role player on a 1-year, $100,000 deal. That's it. But what happened next turned her into the most searched female athlete in the entire country. On June 17th, in a heated game against the Connecticut Sun, J.C. Sheldon went after Caitlin Clark with a cheap shot, and Sophie Cunningham didn't hesitate. She committed a hard foul so aggressive that security had to intervene before the refs even blew their whistles. She got ejected, she got fined, and she gained over 800,000 followers in a matter of days. Her jersey sold out overnight. That's not a basketball play. That's a cultural moment. That was Sophie Cunningham telling the entire league, "You come for Caitlin, you come through me first." Think about that for a second. A role player on a $100,000 contract became the most viral athlete in women's sports because she refused to let her teammate get bullied. And from that moment on, the bond between Clark and Cunningham wasn't just a teammate thing, it was a movement. Fans latched onto it. The media couldn't stop covering it. And the Fever rode that energy all the way to a Commissioner's Cup championship and the WNBA semifinals, pushing the Las Vegas Aces to a winner-take-all Game 5. All of this without Caitlin Clark, who was limited to just 13 games because of multiple injuries, and without Cunningham herself, who tore her MCL in August and missed the rest of the season. Let that sink in. The Fever's two most beloved players watched the deepest playoff run in a decade from the bench, together, side by side, cheering on their teammates like they were still out there on the floor. That's not just chemistry, that's family. But here's where it gets dangerous. Sophie Cunningham's 1-year deal with Indiana has expired. She's an unrestricted free agent. And right now, she hasn't signed with anyone. Not the Fever, not any team. Because there's no new collective bargaining agreement, which means there's no free agency, no expansion draft, no nothing. The entire WNBA is frozen. And Sophie isn't sugarcoating it. When a fan asked her on Instagram where she's playing next season, her response was brutal. She said, "Waiting to see if we will even have a season." Read that again. A 7-year WNBA veteran, one of the most popular players in the league, doesn't even know if she'll have a job this year. That's not frustration. That's a cry for help. And the craziest part? Sophie went even further on her podcast this week. She called the WNBA the laughing stock of sports. Her exact words. She said, "I've been around a lot of NHL people, a lot of NBA people, a lot of MLB people, and everyone is like, why are you guys not using what we've already built?" She's not wrong. The WNBA generated record revenue off the backs of players like Caitlin Clark and then turned around and told those same players they don't deserve a bigger slice of the pie. Clark made the league hundreds of millions of dollars and got paid less than $80,000 for the season. The numbers don't lie. That's not a pay structure. That's exploitation. But here's where things get even messier. On February 3rd, Cunningham was asked on her podcast which WNBA ownership groups are the most involved and player first. She named 3 teams: New York, Seattle, Phoenix. You know which team she didn't mention? Indiana, the team she just played for. The team where Caitlin Clark, her best friend in the league, is still under contract. She said, "They are very player first. They know you might lose a little money on the front end, but you get it back if you invest." And when she talked about the league's ownership as a whole, she dropped this gem. From my perspective, it seems like half of our owners are player first and really wanting to invest, and the other half are more league side. So which side is Indiana's ownership on? Sophie didn't say. But the silence said everything. Think about it. This is a woman who literally fought for Caitlin Clark on national television. She got ejected defending her. She called anyone who doesn't think Clark is the face of the league, and these are her words, dumb as fee. And now she's publicly praising other ownership groups while leaving Indiana off the list entirely. That's not an accident. That's a message. And here's the shocking twist. Sophie Cunningham also admitted that money could be the thing that breaks this team apart for good. In an interview with Front Office Sports, she was asked about keeping the Fever core together, and her answer was chilling. She said, "If people want to come back, we're trying to keep our core together. But when money is waved in people's faces, you just never know." She also said in her exit interview that she can't just not look at other opportunities when free agency opens up. So here we are. The woman who became the heart and soul of the Fever, the enforcer, the protector, the one player fans trust more than anyone to have Caitlin's back, is openly admitting she might not be coming back, not because she doesn't want to, but because Indiana's ownership might not pay her what she's worth. But that's not the wildest part. Because while Sophie's future in Indiana is uncertain, there's an even bigger storm brewing around Caitlin Clark herself. Fans across social media have been spiraling with conspiracy theories that Clark could leave the Fever. And before you dismiss it, look at the evidence. Clark only has 2 years left on her rookie contract. She's making pennies compared to the revenue she generates. She skipped unrivaled for the second straight offseason. She just made her NBC broadcasting debut alongside Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady at Madison Square Garden. She's building a media empire with Nike preparing to launch her signature sneaker. And she was noticeably absent from the most recent CBA negotiation meeting in New York, even though she was in the city at the time. Fans went ballistic. One wrote, "The only person that has any weight in the negotiations. The owners were probably thrilled the ladies didn't send her." Another said, "And yet CC was in NYC and I bet they didn't invite her to join." Now here's what truly terrifies the WNBA. The CBA talks are going nowhere. The Players' Union authorized a strike with 98% approval. The league and the players are so far apart that the scheduled May 8th start date for the 2026 season is in serious jeopardy. If there's a lockout, there's no basketball, no Caitlin Clark, no Sophie Cunningham, no Indiana Fever games to sell out. One fan summed it up perfectly. No Caitlin hoops till 2027. And some fans are convinced this is all by design, that the league's old guard doesn't want Clark to have leverage, doesn't want players getting paid what they're worth, and would rather burn the whole thing down than share the revenue that Caitlin Clark single-handedly created. But here's what the conspiracy crowd keeps missing, and this is the part that actually matters. Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. She's under contract with the Fever through 2027. She posted on social media at the end of the year saying, "2025, you were a year. 2026, I welcome you with open arms. Let's get it." The Fever's official account responded with, "Let's go." She's rehabbing. She's training with USA Basketball. She told NBC during her broadcast debut, "I only appeared in 13 games last year, so I'm itching to get back." This isn't a woman planning her exit. This is a woman loading the cannon for the biggest comeback season in WNBA history. And Sophie Cunningham? For all the uncertainty, for all the CBA chaos, she keeps doing one thing that tells you everything you need to know. She keeps showing up. She was courtside at a Pacers game in January, decked out in designer, sitting right there in the Indiana family section. When Clark posted about her birthday, Sophie jumped in the comments asking Clark's boyfriend what he got her. When Clark made her broadcasting debut, Sophie watched every second and went on her podcast the next day to hype her up. She called Clark a natural and a dweeb in the same breath, which is the most Sophie Cunningham thing ever. And when Clark commented on one of Sophie's TikToks saying she missed playing together, Sophie's response was, "Only if you cuddle and make me dinner twice a week." That's not a woman who's walking away. That's a woman who's fighting like hell to come back. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about whether the WNBA can get out of its own way long enough to protect the most valuable franchise in women's sports history. Sophie Cunningham said it best. She wants to keep the core together and go get a championship. Caitlin Clark is itching to get back on the court. The fans are desperate for this team to run it back. The only thing standing in the way is a league that still can't figure out how to pay its players, and an ownership group in Indiana that hasn't said a single word about bringing Sophie home. Make no mistake about what's happening right now. The Fever aren't just building a basketball team. They're building a dynasty. But dynasties don't build themselves. Someone has to write the checks. Someone has to step up. And if Indiana doesn't, someone else will. And that's the heartbreaking truth Sophie Cunningham has been trying to tell us all along. Do you think Sophie will be back in Indiana? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next.